Now, Lowcountry Forever, a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.
There's nothing more important than education. How early should your education start? It's what we're going to talk about this morning on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by some members of First Steps of Charleston County, including Taresha Whelldon. She is the early Head Start child partner, and we're going to call her an expert. Is that correct, Taresha? I can call you an expert?
I think you can.
All right, well, good. Well, we like to be talking to experts here. So before I introduce your coworker who's going to be joining us today on Lowcountry Forever, let's just explain to everyone exactly what First Steps of Charleston County is.
Well, I could say that Charleston County First Steps is known as a school readiness program that has been in existence since 1999. We're a nonprofit organization that truly stands on our mission to work to get children healthy and ready for school. One of our things that we work on is the improvement of the quality of childcare, also working to expand early childcare education and programs, and then also making an easier access for children and families to services, as well as supporting them as well. So, of course, we want to make sure that all Charleston County youngest learners reach school healthy and ready to learn, and we do that in several different ways.
And Hafeezah Yates is our second expert joining us. She's a family service specialist manager. Hafeezah, you deal directly with families, so what does that title of yours mean in terms of what you do for families and children?
So yes, I'm Hafeezah Yates, and I'm the Family Service Specialist Manager. Myself and my team, we're the first line of contact for families, and we really get the opportunity to build that rapport. We get to learn a lot about our families as individuals. We guide them throughout the program term. We address challenges. We celebrate our parents' successes along the way, and we really just work together with our families to give them the resources that they need.
Taresha, you mentioned that First Steps of Charleston County is a nonprofit organization. What does that mean for you?
Yes, so we are a nonprofit organization, meaning we really thrive off of community donations. Being a nonprofit organization, you really have to fundraise for your money, as well as try and write for grants to provide funding for us to continue to offer services to our families within the Charleston County community.
So let's start here. There's a parent who is in the Lowcountry. They're listening. They have a young child. At what age should they be thinking about reaching out to First Steps of Charleston County?
So with Charleston County First Steps, we're able actually to work with mothers that have a child in the womb.
Wow.
Up until age 5. So we can do within our home visiting program, which is parents as teachers, they can work with a mother that is just became pregnant with prenatal services going up to the age of 5 years old, starting from the beginning, following them into public schooling.
So Hafeezah, when you work with parents, what's the first step for a parent to take in terms of getting involved with First Steps of Charleston County?
Well, first thing, we want to make sure that the program is a good fit for the family. So we like to share with them the benefits of being in the Early Head Start program. The benefits besides full day childcare, we like to stress the importance of developmental resources, nutritional resources, the importance of health with our families, making sure they understand that family engagement is a huge part of this program. So we want to make sure it's a good fit for families. Most families say yes. They love engagement. Most families say they never knew a program was for kids so young. And it's exciting because these parents, they get to see their little babies learn, speech. They get to see them learn language and to hear them say, I never knew my child could learn this much stuff so young.
So for those people who assume that First Steps of Charleston County was just for kids right before kindergarten, you're serious when you say you start with First Steps.
The very early first steps. So I would say, families who are interested in a program like this, sometimes we'll direct to the website. Sometimes families will see our flyer and they'll contact me or my team member directly. And we love talking about the program with families and to get them started and to get them connected.
Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking with representatives from First Steps of Charleston County. Taresha Whelldon and Hafeezah Yates have joined me, Brian Cleary, on Lowcountry Forever. So far, we've been focusing on the parents, but what about the kids? What is it the children are doing as part of the First Steps of Charleston County program?
Well, with Early Head Start Child Care Partnership, we're given the opportunity to partner with local child care providers to render high quality services. And that is giving them comprehensive services, intensive comprehensive services. And that is starting with, can you believe it, Brian? We utilize a curriculum for our smallest babies. And some of our parents do ask us, so even with the infants, we use what is called creative curriculum. So all of our teachers that are hired through these private child care centers that are part of our Early Head Start program actually are trained to use this curriculum within the classrooms so that we can hone in on those developmental skills that they will need to go further into public schooling. So when you talk about 0 to 3, that is your foundation. That is where our teachers within these facilities are creating that foundation for our children to learn through play, to explore their environment within the classroom and outside of the classroom that will help them to matriculate throughout their public schooling.
So, Taresha, when you mentioned that you partner with local child care providers, that's an industry, a sector of our economy that's certainly been affected by the pandemic. Is it something right now you're trying to build on? Are you still looking to grow those partnerships?
We are constantly looking for qualified teachers to apply to different child care centers within the community. And with our Early Head Start program, we are continuously looking for teachers in support of our center partners that we do have, that we're partnering with through our program. So if there is qualified teachers out there that have a love and compassion for young children, that are highly qualified and are still looking for somewhere to call their family or their home when it comes to providing a safe and nurturing learning environment, we are continuously looking for teachers for our center partners in this particular sector.
So you mentioned your center partners. Where are those centers and how many of them are there?
We do have Nia Infant and Toddler, which is located in North Charleston. Also Academy of Kingdom in North Charleston as well by Trident Technical College. We Care for Children Child Development Center, as well as Johns Island Early Childhood Christian Academy on Johns Island.
And for a parent who signs up their children, is it based on this is the facility that's most convenient, closest to me? Or does each of them have a specialty and, oh, the 2-year-old needs to go here, but the 3-year-old needs to go there? How is it determined that my son or daughter is going to go to one of those centers?
When we first make contact with families, Brian, we like to ask them to be open to any of the centers. We know location is really important, but also we want families to consider we may not have a slot available at the center that's closest to them, but we will work with families as best we can to get them in a center that's most convenient. But we do encourage them, put any center. We'll keep that in mind as slots open up for families.
So for a parent listening now who's interested in having their child become part of First Steps of Charleston County, are there any restrictions that they need to know about?
So with Early Head Start, we do actually look at income as well as age when we are going through the intake process with our families. So those are the two major things that we do look at. But for our Parents as Teachers program, that is a home visiting program. They do have a criteria where families have to meet some high-risk categories. But, as long as they have 1 or 2 of those categories, they're more than likely to be eligible to receive those services under our Parents as Teachers program, which is an intense home visiting program, also designed to build strong communities and thriving families as well.
Now, Hafeezah, when I think people hear of childcare, obviously very intrigued by that, but the child care that you guys provide goes a little bit more than taking a son or daughter and putting them in front of the TV and just watching them all day.
That's correct, Brian. And play is fun for early learners. So when our teachers are learning and doing creative curriculum with the babies, it's really them playing, but playing in a way that it's going towards their developmental domains. That's a good point that I share with families, that when your child goes into this daycare setting, they're getting the early child care education curriculum, like they're actually learning. And once parents see the results of that, it's really nice to hear their feedback once they can see that progression in their babies.
Could you provide a tip or two to a mom or dad who has a 1 or 2-year-old? They're not involved in the program yet. Maybe they want to be. But what do you think they should be doing with their child? Or what is it that you tell people outside of when the child is in the program that they should be doing with their son or daughter?
So one of the things that's super important is literacy. Even before a baby can speak words, even pointing to pictures and the parent teaching babies what the pictures mean, even when they can't speak. So literacy is a huge, huge part of early learning that we work with our families with a lot. Our families are enrolled in our early literacy reading program. They get free books every month. So it's very much ingrained in the program, but families can do this at home.
And I have to believe by the families doing this, they're not only helping the small child, but they're helping the entire family.
Absolutely. And most parents of young children, they have older children. And so that gives them an opportunity to, you have your little baby reading a book and looking at pictures while they're helping the older child with homework, especially us being in the environment of being home more now. That has been a benefit to a lot of early learner parents that they've shared with me.
And we have a growing Hispanic community here in the Lowcountry area in South Carolina. Is there a language situation that a Spanish-speaking family could also participate in your program?
Absolutely. We do provide the same services to our Spanish-speaking community, and we are actually really recruiting in Johns Island area for families who are looking for childcare, particularly Spanish-speaking families. We would love to connect with them as well.
Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking with representatives of First Steps of Charleston County. And Taresha, you mentioned the fact that you are a nonprofit organization. Nonprofits have to do fundraising, and most nonprofits have been challenged, shall we say, by the COVID-19, by the pandemic over the last 12 to 14 months. That, I have to assume, has affected you as well.
Yes, that we actually have a governing board that actually has a committee that we're trying to become stronger in the fundraising area because, as you do know, addressing the needs of our young children in our community is certainly not a task we can do or achieve on our own. So we do look to our community and community partners to assist us with donations so that we can continue to provide those needs to those children and families within the community as well. So we don't see it as us as a nonprofit organization doing the work by ourselves, but we do look to a lot of our community agency and partners to come together with us to provide those needs.
And when you talk about donations, are you just talking about financial donations, or can people actually contribute other things as well?
It can be both financial as well as items. For instance, Lowcountry Food Bank at the beginning of COVID-19 provided us with food bags that we can do porch drops to our families that were in need. So it can be anywhere from food to diapers. Diaper Bank has been very helpful for us in providing diapers to families during COVID-19 as well. So your time speaking, community partners coming, because we don't necessarily have the funds to pay for community speakers to come in. And so donating of your time, it's many different ways that you can assist us in meeting the needs of our families and children.
And Hafeezah, continuing on the COVID-19 subject, you deal with families. Obviously, the pandemic has created a situation where groups aren't gathering. So I have to think some of the ways you've been executing parts of the program have been affected by that.
Yes, Brian, there was definitely a shift. I joined the team a couple of months right before COVID. So a lot of what our parent engagement entails was in person.
Right.
And we had to shift to everything being virtual. But honestly, I feel like we have been able to build more stronger relationships with our families in this setting than we have in group settings. I think that families have just really felt more comfortable with us doing our one-on-one meetings and talking to them more. Even though we do porch drops, we drop things off that families need. It can be laundry detergent, it could be children's clothing. I think it's really shifted our program in a way that has really opened our eyes to the parents that we work with every day.
So if somebody wants to donate some items, so if in some way a person listening wants to help First Steps of Charleston County, what's the first step that they need to take?
They can actually go to our website, which is charlestoncountyfirststeps.org. And we actually have a donate button which is really convenient, that if they want to donate monetarily, they can do that through our website, as well as if they visit our website, they can also look to see where our address is or give our office a call and say, I would like to donate any items to Charleston County First Steps, and we can most definitely work out the logistics of having those items donated to the office. But as far as someone wanting to donate, making a money donation, they can go straight to our website.
And that website address is charlestonfirststeps.org. That's .org. First Steps of Charleston County, our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
The Charleston Radio Group is the Lowcountry. Every week, we highlight local organizations and events that are helping to make a difference here where we live. If you have a group, event, or an idea to feature on Lowcountry Forever, let us know. Visit lowcountryforever.com and click on our podcast link for contact information. Now, Lowcountry Forever continues.
This September will mark 20 years, 2 decades since 9/11. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we talk about the Charleston Memorial Stair Climb. I'm Brian Cleary. We're joined by John Cole, who's the event director, and Rachel Cole, who is the event coordinator for this fundraiser that'll take place at the North Charleston Coliseum on June 19th. John, tell me what it was that motivated you to organize this event, get behind it, and to remember 9/11.
I retired at the City of Charleston Fire Department at 27 years in between Somerville and Charleston Fire Department. I started doing a bicycle ride called the Brotherhood Ride to raise funds for line of duty deaths. So we'd ride, just hundreds of miles multiple times a year and donate those proceeds to the families of the fallen of that year. Fast forward, we got involved with a stair climb down in New Orleans, and they are a part of a group called the Association of Memorial Stair Climbs, which holds stair climbs all over the nation. They either hold them in the month of September or on September the 11th. It's basically a 9/11 stair climb. So they have them all over the country. So we decided to go down and join them in New Orleans to do the first one of the stair climbs in New Orleans. So we talked to them about doing a stair climb in Charleston, kind of threw that idea around. So next thing you know, we started a stair climb here in Charleston.
Hard to believe it's been 20 years, 2 decades since those tragic events on September 11th of 2001. And this event is to raise some money as well as honor and remember those we lost that day.
That is correct.
So the event here in Charleston is going to be at the North Charleston Coliseum on June 19th. Let's first of all talk about what will happen that day, because I think at some level people go, climbing a bunch of stairs, piece of cake. No, that's not really the case. So what are you going to have me climb?
So we're going to have you climb 110 floors, which would be the equivalent floors of the World Trade Center. When they climbed that day, they were climbing the World Trade Center, which is 110 floors. We will ask you to come and climb in your turnout gear, your police gear, whatever you would wear at work if you are a first responder. If you're not a first responder and you're with a group, we'd like for you to come in with weight vests, sandbags, that kind of stuff. Most people will carry hose, tools, those types of things, just to kind of give you an idea of what they were wearing that day when they were climbing those towers.
So those folks that think they're going to get away with, like me, shorts and flip-flops, no, you're going to really experience the entire deal.
You probably don't want to wear flip-flops. It's a lot of steps for flip-flops. You might want to at least put on some tennis shoes. There's no requirement for the additional weight. If you are a first responder and want to participate but don't want to put on all of the gear that day because you're doing it every other day of the week, that's okay. Our number one goal is to have people come out and remember those that gave their lives that day for our country while trying to save others.
This is Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary. We're talking with Rachel Cole, the coordinator, and John Cole, who's the event director of the upcoming Charleston Memorial Stair Climb. This will be the first ever event. Now, obviously, first responders are people that you'd like to have participate, but this event is more than just for first responders.
Correct. It is open to our entire community to come out and show that we have not forgotten. So it doesn't matter what profession you're in, if you're retired or active, if you're first responder, military, hospital workers, restaurant workers, we want everybody represented so we can truly show the departments and the families of the fallen that we have not forgotten here in Charleston.
And again, we're talking about 20 years ago. Now, the event is obviously a fundraiser, and the money that you're able to raise that day will go to benefit who?
So our primary beneficiary for this year is the Lowcountry Firefighter Support Team. That organization began after the fire happened in Charleston, where we lost 9 of our guys. So they are here to provide support and assistance to our first responders every single day, day in and day out. And they do that at no charge to them and their families. So they will be our primary beneficiaries this year. We also will have a few others that we'll be able to provide funds to this year. And it's really up to the local group to decide where those funds go. So each year we get to choose to keep those funds local.
And Rachel, you guys have a website set up where people can go and get information. Can you share that website address?
All of the details about registration, sponsorships, day of activities are at charlestonstairclimb.com.
Now, John, as a former firefighter, you can more relate to what actually it is climbing stairs with equipment and things like that. Obviously, though, you want this to be an event where people can understand what the first responders were going through, but we don't want to make it too difficult so that no one can participate. So talk a little bit about that. And if you can, share your own experience, because I can't imagine what it's like to go into a challenging, shall we say, situation with all the equipment, all the gear, and all the responsibility as well.
Yeah, just like Rachel said, there's no gear requirement for that day. We just want you to come out and remember those who sacrificed their lives on that day when they were climbing the World Trade Centers. As far as the turnout gear and what we wear, I mean, it's about 50 pounds with an air pack, full gear. It's hot. It really kind of gets in your head when you start climbing with that kind of stuff, and you're thinking about what they went through on that day as you start climbing. When you start getting up to about the 35th to the 40th floor, you really start thinking about emotionally what they were going through. And those are the kind of things that you deal with every day when you put your turnout gear on. You're thinking about what's going to happen to you going into this environment. And hopefully you trained well enough to understand and to be able to deal with what's happening in that environment. It's just nature of the beast, I guess, you know.
And so now 20 years removed from 9/11, there's an entire segment of our population that wasn't even born when that event happened or wasn't old enough to remember it. You as a firefighter have to have a different perspective of that day and the day of the Charleston Nine. Can you let us know a little bit from that unique perspective what it's like for you? Because those are your brothers and sisters that were lost on those 2 days.
On that particular day, I was in a company. I was on Engine 19 in West Ashley, and my captain officer was Billy Hutchinson at that time. Brad Beatty was my driver, and Earl Drayton was on the truck with me. We were sitting at Station 16 watching the events unfold on television. After those events, as soon as that happened, we were kind of deployed to go to New York to go to funerals and such right after 9/11. We actually went to the World Trade Centers in those areas and saw the devastation firsthand. There was a friend of mine who actually worked with the South Carolina Stingrays hockey team, Mark Bavis. He was actually on one of the planes that hit the World Trade Centers. It was pretty emotional for me to go and see that. And then fast forward, we had this tragedy in Charleston, and those same guys that I was with on 9/11 back in that day perished at the Sofa Superstore on June 18th, 2007. So it kind of goes hand in hand, 9/11 and June 18th for me in my experiences and what happened. And just the things that I saw were pretty emotional and devastating. That's just kind of how I saw things and how I see things.
And they're tragic events that we're talking about, but we need to keep bringing them up because it's cliche, but we never want to forget those individuals who were involved.
From a firefighter's perspective, you see there's a lot of people that, if you look at their helmets, if you look at their tattoos, if you look at their patches and all these other things, they have 343, FDNY, and all these other things, or Charleston Nine, or whatever it may be. And you always see the words never forget. Well, it seems to be happening that people are starting to forget. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of things that happened out of 9/11. I mean, we went to war, and we are just now bringing those guys back this coming September. I mean, right. We're talking 20 years later. I mean, we're still bringing guys back. So finally, they're trying to bring them all back this September. So I just, I would really like to see a lot of people come out there and act upon what they're doing. You never forget. Well, come out and climb and show that you never forget.
And the date we'll be looking for you, June 19th at the North Charleston Coliseum. This is Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary. We're talking about the Charleston Memorial Stair Climb. It'll be the first ever event here in the Holy City, and John Cole is the event director. Also joining us is the coordinator of the event, Rachel Cole. And Rachel, there's going to be a lot of people involved in putting on an event of this scale. Who are those people who are helping out? And tell me about some of the event sponsors.
It is a large scale event. We're hoping to have 412 climbers, but that also means there's going to be spouses and family members and community members out as well. We are definitely going to be using a large number of volunteers that day, so there's certainly opportunities to volunteer. We are going to be having a post-climb celebration at Tradesman Brewery in the Charleston area, so we're super excited to be able to host that event there, where we will have our recipients at the event, our beneficiaries at the event, who will be able to come out and meet those individuals that will be actually helping with this event. And then, of course, this wouldn't be possible at all without our sponsors. And we've been very fortunate to have some wonderful sponsors joining us so far this year. We are still taking more. To name a few, MSA has stepped up, and they are a huge sponsor for us this year. On Scene Training, Limehouse and Sons, Tony Pope State Farm, Newton Fire and Safety, Stokes Automotive, Homeland Protection. We have a list of sponsors on our website, and definitely could not be possible without all of our sponsors, because they're going to allow us to actually use the funds that is being raised through registrations to actually benefit the organizations we're trying to help.
And if someone did want to participate in becoming a sponsor, how could they go about doing that?
Through our website's the best option. All the details are there, as well as my contact information, and the website is charlestonstairclimb.com.
And John, Rachel mentioned a number 412. That's how many people you'd like to have. More the better, obviously, if we go beyond that number. But what is the significance of 412?
Yeah, so there's 343 firefighters, 60 New York City police officers, 8 EMS, and 1 New York Fire Patrol officer that perished that day.
So that adds up to 412, and that's why we're looking for 412 or more participants in the event.
That is correct. We'll also be climbing for local first responders who died in the line of duty as well.
So it'll be a great way to come out and show tribute. Now, Rachel, I'm someone who wants to participate and be a part of the event on June 19th. Run me through what I need to do to have that happen.
So first and foremost, get online and sign up. We have our t-shirt registration deadline coming up. So if you want to guarantee a super cool t-shirt from the event, you need to do that within the next 10 days. After that, start practicing. So get on a Stairmaster at the gym, do your steps at home, whatever it may be, because although it is not a race, it's at your own pace. We want to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy during it. So definitely start working a little bit. The steps do include the down, the 110 flights. So you'll go 55 flights up and 55 flights down. So a little bit of advantage of being in the Lowcountry. We don't have any super tall buildings to just go up.
That is certainly a fact. So Rachel, break down now how the day will actually play out for those who are participating.
So after the registration is open from 7 to 8, at 8:15, we'll have an opening ceremony where we will highlight first the logistics of how to do the climb, but then we will highlight the numbers of fallen and honor those individuals, have a national anthem, allow a few people to speak that morning. We do have an honorary guest coming from the FDNY. His name is Tim Duffy, phenomenal man that rode his Harley Davidson into the Twin Towers that morning with his bunker gear on once he heard about the call. So he will be joining us for that opening ceremony as well. And then our first climber will start actually at 8:46 a.m., which is the time the first tower was struck. Every climber will receive a custom tag that has one of those first responders that died in the line of duty. You will carry that person with you, and you will climb those 110 flights for that specific person that you're given that morning. At the end of the climb, you'll be greeted with some retired firefighters from FDNY. They will be there to wrap up the ceremony, and then we will all head over to Tradesman Brewery to have a post-climb celebration where we get to remember, honor those that have fallen, and be grateful for where we are today.
And I think at that point, a lot of people will be ready to toast those folks and have a cold one at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in my head of the Coliseum, and obviously there's not one staircase that goes up 55 flights. So how are you setting things up so somebody can go 55 floors up and then 55 floors back down?
So we'll snake the arena. So essentially you will go up all the way from the concourse level to the top level, and you'll come back down to the concourse from the next section. You go right back up, cross over the section, and come back down. So we'll be able to have everybody running through pretty quickly, one after another, and there's plenty of room for 2 people, plenty of room for distancing, and everyone can go at their own pace. Lots of seats, so if you need to take a break, that's okay.
All right.
That it's not a race, it's a memorial event.
And the other part about it is if someone thinks that they really couldn't do the 110, there is the opportunity for folks to come out and volunteer at the event to assist that way.
Absolutely. We definitely need volunteers that day as well.
And it seems like whether for registering or volunteering, all the information will be on your website. So give us that address again.
For all those details, just visit charlestonstairclimb.com.
Go there right now, get all the information, and get yourself registered for the first ever Charleston Memorial Stair Climb at the North Charleston Coliseum on Saturday, June 19th. From the Charleston Memorial Stair Climb, John and Rachel Cole joining us on this edition of Lowcountry Forever.
Thanks for listening to Lowcountry Forever. If you missed any of this week's show, there's a complete recording under the podcast link at lowcountryforever.com. Lowcountry Forever is a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.